I'm president of the Willamar Historical Society, and this is one of our two big projects that we're working on right now. The other one is the restoration of the Willamar Bell that we're doing with Butterfield Trails and a few other community-minded people. Moving a house, when you build a house, do you ever think it's going to move? No. You think it's going to sit there forever, don't you? And when you're a rancher and you build a house and then you build on it, and you build on it, that's what you do. Those houses last there hundreds of years. But there's this little thing called the path of development. And it's reached this area. So what to do about the house is the question. And I think this house bears saving because it was an important house of a pioneering family in Willamar. And there's a lot of information about this family, the father, the son, the grandfather, that's still available to us. So we thought we'd take the house, do some magic over it, move it to another place about a mile away, and turn it into a museum. And we've been helped by quite a few different people on this, not just people from our own group, but public people. And so I'd like to introduce a few of these people, and if they want to say a few words, they can. Nothing happens here without the county at least weighing in on it. So I think the first person I'd like to introduce is Supervisor Bob Buster.
Members and the two landowners and developers who worked on this really have all the credit to recognize the significance of this and then to step right in here very quickly to act and give this house a magic carpet ride to a new location, and then to contemplate the amount of restoration, interpretive restoration, and then to have a vision of what this can be for the future Willamar. I mean, that really is to the community's credit, to everyone's credit. And you coming here today says a lot. Says a lot to me and to the whole community that you recognize that Willamar is a wonderful community, and its history is important for its future as well. And for generations to come, you can see people will be interested to come to this house and look at what it represents and get a sense of what things were like here, and to have some more concern for the community as it will be now, 10 years, 50 years from now. So the county is happy to be a part of this, and I don't know, how are you going to sell it? Are you going to get a little jack under the corner, or how's this going to be done, Bob? This is going to be interesting.
The skirting's going to be taken off the outside, revealing the framing and foundation underneath, and then beams are going to be put underneath. Now, I haven't actually seen this happen. But supposedly once you put the beams underneath, you can jack up the house and put wheels on it and roll away.
Bob, is that section going to be included?
The tower is going to be rolled separately.
But it is going.
It's going also. It has to be, I believe, laid down on its side and framed. At least that's the way I do it if I had it on a platform.
Do they have to remove the trees to do it?
The trees are all going.
Oh, that's too bad.
It is too bad, but you know what's going in here, planting around those trees might be difficult.
Are the garages coming too?
The garages, all the accessory service buildings, half of them are already sort of stripped. And there's just concrete lying out there in the yard, and half of them are partially stripped. They're all going to be stripped completely and be gone. And the whole question is, what do you want to do with your house? One thing we could have done would have been to try to find some way to save all these and make a complex just the way it was in the original farming community. We didn't view that as feasible. So there is another place in Willamar we would like to do that, where there is an intact structure and the outbuildings are more intact. So there is a possibility we still could have that here. But here we'll be left with the house and the tower, and that actually is remarkable in itself. We're not sure. If you probably look up there, you'll see there's granite going around the bottom.
Yes.
We think it was blasted out of the Willamar quarry and moved here. quarries up against the hill over there. So it's probably sometime about the time of the house was built, they blasted it and brought it down here. Probably by horse. Probably dragged.
The wagon.
Yeah. Yeah, because those are one of the reasons this house was where it was. Up on a hill so it could see everything, so he could watch everything that was going on in his ranch. And on a top because that's where you put things, but the railroad ran close by so they could bring goods back and forth. And up against McVicker Street, the next street down, you'll see the cattle chutes. That was from a time when they loaded the cattle on trucks. The railroad didn't last all that long here, just long enough to boom the area and make the colonies, as they were called, grow. So the Wildemar colony grew, and it didn't matter the railroad was here because Highway 395 went by it. That's that street down there, Palomar. So it was a major highway, had gas stations on it. Okay, big time. And he kept ranching for about 60 years on this site. Some of the cattle were part of the Bale Ranch, and some of the watering holes he had around here were used not only for his cattle but for other people's cattle, because it was a business. So I was out there in the fields yesterday looking, and I found some evidence that cattle were here at one time. But I think it was more recent.
Have a country dog. Hadn't been that long.
So I'd like to recognize and see if they'd say a few words, the two developers who have really enabled us to work on this project. And maybe is Tony Del Grupo here? Bob, please, say a word.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for taking time out of your day to come join us. And really, these efforts, certainly should not, go unnoticed. I mean, this is a great example of the public hearing process and the planning process working to the community's advantage. I mean, as properties change hands over the years, the people that move in from, whether it's other counties or states and take over the property, developers, the history and the significance is lost in the translation. And during the public hearing process, we really weren't quite aware of the local significance of this house. So I mean, I really got to, it was brought to the table by good hardworking folks like Vicki and Cheryl, who's not here today, and Bob's input. So it kind of, there's certainly competing interests, for the path of development, as Bob certainly said, but it helped bring the issue to the table. The supervisor's office was tremendous in helping us cooperate and work towards a solution that benefited the community, benefited us, and as well as just the long-standing importance of the house. So we're happy to be a part of it. I think it's a great solution, that's worked out, and the house has found a home. And he'll speak here in a minute, but we're happy to contribute and make sure the timing works for everybody, and the synergy is there. And I guess on behalf of Beazer Homes, we're soon to be a few people's neighbors, I'm sure, once the project gets going, and we look forward to continuing to be in Wildemar. It'll be our fourth project here, so we like Wildemar, and we hope to do some more. So thank you.
Thank you for your concern. We really appreciate it.
I'd like to kind of echo what Tony said. The Bergman companies came to understand what was going on as we started to develop the property where the house and the tower are going to finally reside. And through the efforts of the Wildemar Historic Society and the Bergman and the other developers that are involved with us, we reached an agreement that we would put the buildings there on the property in also in Wildemar. And as Bob mentioned, there are a few little details that have to be worked out, and those are mostly the county. We just have to get their blessing now to finish our project. But it's great the way that we're able to work with the Wildemar Historic Society to protect the legacy of what is Wildemar. This roundhouse and the water tower are what made up this land 100 years ago. And It's the legacy that these people have left us and the freedoms that we enjoyed is wonderful. We're grateful to be able to give back to the community, to provide a final resting place and a facility that will, I think, enhance the community and also enhance the retail environment that will be around it. So thank you very much.
Some know her as Jane Brown, some as Nancy Brown, depending. She's taken time out of her life to come and see us here as we're ready to move David Brown's father's house. She was married to David Brown. And we have Jerry Stevenson's got a little sort of token or gift.
Well, yes, we are so honored to have her here today for this ceremony for the Brown House, and we thank you very much for coming, and we want to give you some time for appreciation.
Well, Vicki?
Yes, we have one more surprise thing that you don't even know about.
Yeah, okay.
She just blew the budget.
Rob Dix came by, and he's from the Parks Department. He's been hanging on to a treasured article for our Historical Society, and since he told me we're busy doing this, he brought the treasured item by, and I'd like him to tell you about it and present it to our society.
Thank you, the Archaeological Reserve. And some years ago, a gentleman came by who is the nephew of one of the ranch hands who once worked here in the late 1920s. And this gentleman who worked here during the summer months as a ranch hand, taught school during the school year, helped run the cattle and do other odds and end jobs here on the ranch, and who lived in this house in the late 1920s. He was a poet and an artist, and his nephew compiled these a few years ago in a beautiful book that includes not only the poems that he wrote sometimes right here on this very site about not only the plateau but around this land, the way it appeared in the 1920s, but he also has beautiful paintings that were done of this area. And what you guys have done in terms of protecting this place is going to unravel so much more into the future about Wildemar. Because when you set aside one thing, as in all of life, it's connected to so many other aspects. This gentleman was a classmate of John Steinbeck. That's part of the story. This gentleman was very interested and wrote extensively about the Scopes trial in the 1920s. That's part of this story. So there are all these interconnected human history aspects that you are protecting by setting aside this beautiful part of Wildemar's history. And this is just a piece of it that I hope will end up unlocking a lot more stories about Wildemar's future.